In Diablo 2, crafted items can offer unique or powerful modifiers not found on other pieces of equipment. In this video, we're going to cover the best items to spend your resources crafting, but if you're more interested in knowing all the crafted item recipes, we do have videos for that in the description. But here, we're going to go much more for the refined palette. At the very bottom of the top list, we have the Blood Amulet. Despite the ability to get plus skills and the fact that it can get dual leech as well, it's a bit less favored than the Blood Ring, since the amulet slot is a lot more contested than the rings in terms of options. That said, it still can turn out some pretty powerful options with the natural life leech and faster run walk, just not quite as broken as the other amulet options. In this pricier end of crafting, costing basically an Amrune, it's still reasonable to farm for a Nightmare, it's just not as cost-effective as some of the other options either. Next up, we have the Blood Belt. Relatively easy to get, has some nice base stats, and can cause, well, bleed. Like the amulet, it's not that impressive, but it does what it needs to do, offers some unique aspects, and can knock out a good deal of cool combinations of mods if you're lucky. While it doesn't beat out the uniques in the slot, it still provides some nice potential belt for people looking for mid-tier gear to hold them over, or even some alternatives for certain niche builds. Blood belts are also super easy to craft by just farming Countess, since the tall rune it uses is her most common rune drop. Following that, in the 7th slot, we have the Caster Boots, which, while not necessarily the best in slot, are fairly good options for getting a bit of mana boost and resist if you can get good boot rolls. There are uniques that you'll generally set these aside for, unless you get like top-notch bit of luck on them, such as getting like all the perfect stats, but they'll still serve you well for your casters or anybody who needs mana, thanks to that percent increased mana that is kind of unique to them. The Caster Boots are the only item in this list that competes with another item, unfortunately, which is another reason why it gets bumped down as much as it does, since it is fighting over that Thul rune with the safety amulet. But overall, it's still not bad. It is a competitor for a very high-end unique, so you could possibly get some really good stuff with that. Next in line are the Hit Power Gloves. These are mainly only low because they have niche uses, mostly only being useful to range classes due to knockback, but combined with some lucky rare rolls can be extremely dangerous, namely increased attack speed and skills being sought after, so yeah, you can also get Mana Leech and Resist as well. They're not really uncommon either, and since it does cost an Ort Rune, they're fairly easy to make from a bit of farming, and unlike crafted belts, you can use the low strength requirement of normal chain gloves since there's no utility penalty other than defense for it. So, unlike belts, which do actually reduce the number of slots you have. Though, speaking of belts, the next one is the Caster Belt. This one gets a bump because there's not much competition in the belt slot for the faster cast, just an extremely high-end unique, as with all the belt recipes. Exceptional is recommended for maximum slots, and since it's a light belt, it's not too restrictive on strength to do so, or even if you have to, going for the elite version to get the eye level you want. Of course, you can get that high of an eye level on any of the belts if you buy it, but anyway, while this will likely never be a GG item, it's still quite useful for hitting those casting breakpoints for a variety of builds, and it can serve to tide you over until you can get something like Arachnid's Mesh to give you that extra bit of faster cast. Next up, we have a really close race for 3rd and 4th, but I'm going to have to give the lower spot to the Safety Amulet, mainly because it's only useful to characters who are going for max block. That, and it fights with a lower item, the Caster Boots, for your Thul runes. That said, with a bit of luck, a good Safety Amulet can be competitive for the best in slot with a lot of shield-based builds, since it can get the same mods as all the other amulets, which is really nice pool to pull from, as you'll see whenever we get up to the very, very top. The competitor that won out in the 3rd place slot, though, are the Blood Gloves. They won for me because of Crushing Blow. It's a lot more applicable for PvE than max block, and this is one of the few sources of Crushing Blow on gloves, and it's the only source of Crushing Blow on gloves that can get 20% increased attack speed in the slot. Add on that it gives Life Leech, and you theoretically can have dual leech gloves, and you've got a recipe for a really good item. Doesn't hurt either that's one of the cheaper crafted items, only taking a Neph rune, which you're probably not going to use in too many other things. At the end here, we have the two pull-away favorites. First, the Blood Ring, one of the easiest ways to get a dual leech ring, with the icing that it has plus strength, and that rings do like getting resists. You'll see that this is kind of stacking well up against the competition. It always makes me feel bad that this is easily one of the best ring choices, and one of the only reliable ones to get desired stats, since it comes with the favored one for melee. There was so much potential in the other item groups, but it wasn't taken advantage of whenever they were designing the crafted items. They could have given them faster cast on the caster, or better resists, or some kind of selectable resist on the safety, but no, they did not. Though at the top of the list, you can see how they did take advantage of some unique features, since number 2 was a physical character's wet dream. That means number 1 is, you guessed it, the caster's top pick, the Caster Amulet. Thanks to its innate faster cast rate, it can be the beast for a caster. It can be better than pretty much any unique you can find if you're lucky enough, being the method of creating the mythical 220 amulets you hear about, basically +2 to all skills, and then 20% faster cast rate by getting a max modifier on caster and a faster cast modifier from the rare. This is easily one of my most crafted items, and is probably one of the most crafted items online, right next to the blood ring, going into the thousands of crafts for me. It creates quite the tool set if you can get just the right modifiers, and it is one of the only amulets that can reach the highs you'll find in any crafted amulet that will just go insane and be best in slot in a heartbeat. Those 9 key items out of the way, that is another crafting guide done. You can actually go check out the full run-throughs of each of the crafting trees in the other videos down in the description, or you can stay tuned to see more about what you can do with the Project Cube in the near future, because I will be doing more crafting guides from this, and we will even do some more top lists as well. But for this one, that's another episode. Keep gaming, have fun, peace out. This has been Alzorath. Bye.